you at that point?
I don't know. A rival, I guess.
No, not a mere rival. Before you know it, you start to see each and every person, everyone in the whole world as your enemy.
My enemy?
You start to think that people are always looking down on you and treating you with scorn, that they are all enemies who must never be underestimated, who lie in wait for any opening and attack at the drop of a hat. In short, that the world is a terrifying place.
Enemies who must never be underestimated. That's who I am in competition with.
This is what is so terrifying about competition. Even if you are not a loser, even if you are someone who keeps on winning, if you are someone who has placed himself in competition, you will never have a moment's peace. You don't want to be a loser, and you always have to keep on winning if you do not want to be a loser. You can't trust other people. The reason so many people don't really feel happy while they are building up their success in the eyes of society is that they are living in competition. Because to them, the world is a perilous place that is overflowing with enemies.
I suppose so, but
But do other people actually look at you so much? Are they really watching you around the clock and lying in wait for the perfect moment to attack? It seems rather unlikely. A young friend of mine, when he was a teenager, used to spend a lot of time in front of the mirror arranging his hair. And once, when he was doing that, his grandmother said, "You are the only one who is worried about how you look." He says that it got a bit easier for him to deal with life after that.
hey, that's a dig at me, isn't it? Sure. Maybe I do see the people around me as enemies. I'm constantly in fear of being attacked, of the arrows that could come flying at me at any moment. I always think that I am being watched by others, that I am being subjected to harsh judgment, and that I am going to be attacked. And it's probably true that this is a self conscious reaction, just like the mirror obsessed teenager. The people of the world aren't paying attention to me. Even if I were to go walking on my hands down the street, they would take no notice. But I don't know. Are you saying, after all, that my feeling of inferiority is something that I choose that has some sort of goal? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
And why is that?
I have a brother who is 3 years older than I am. He fits the classic image of the big brother. He always does what our parents say. He excels in his studies and in sports, and he is the very picture of diligence. And from the time I was little, I was always compared to him. He is older and more advanced. So, of course, I could never beat him at anything. Our parents did not care at all about such circumstances and never gave me any sign of recognition. Whatever I did, I got treated like a child. And I was berated at every opportunity and told to be quiet. I learned to keep my feelings to myself. I have lived my life totally steeped in the feelings of inferiority. And I had no choice but to be conscious of being in competition with my brother.
I see.
Sometimes I think of it like this. I am like a ground I am like a god that grew without getting enough sun. So it is only natural that I am all twisted up with with feelings of inferiority. If there is anyone who could grow straight in such a situation, Well, I would love to meet him.
I understand. I really do understand how you feel. Now, let us look at competition while taking into consideration your relationship with your brother. If you did not think with a competition orientation with regard to your brother and your other interpersonal relationships, how would people seem to you?
Well, my brother is my brother, and I guess other people are another story.
No, they should become more positive comrades.
Comrades?
Earlier, did not you say I can't celebrate other people's happiness with all my heart? You think of interpersonal relationships as competition. You perceive other people's happiness as my defeat, and that is why you can't celebrate it. However, once one is released from the schema of competition, the need to triumph over someone disappears. One is also released from the fear that says, maybe I will love, maybe I will lose, and one becomes able to celebrate other people's happiness with all one's heart. One may become able to contribute actively to other people's happiness. The person who always has the will to help another in times of need, that is someone who may properly be called your comrade.
Hmm.
Now we come to the important part. When you are able to truly feel that people are my comrades, your way of looking at the world will change utterly. No longer will you think of the world as a perilous place or be plagued by needless doubts. The world will appear before you as a safe and pleasant place, and your interpersonal relationship problems will decrease dramatically.
What a happy person you are. But you know, that's all like a sunflower. It's the reasoning of a sunflower that is bathed in full sunshine every day and is nurtured with ample watering. A gourd grown in the dim shade doesn't do so well.
You are returning to etiology, the attributing of cause again.
Oh, yes, I sure am. Raised by strict parents, the youth had been oppressed and compared to his elder brother ever since childhood. None of his opinions were ever heard, and he was subjected to the violent words. What he was a poor excuse for a little brother. Unable to make friends even at school, he spent all his free time alone in the library, which became his sole place of refuge. This youth, who had passed his early years in such a way, was truly an inhabitant of etiology. If he had not been raised by those parents, if that older brother had never existed, and if he had not attended that school, he could have had a brighter life. The youth had been trying to participate in the discussion as cool headedly as possible. But now, in his many years of pent up feelings, came bursting out. From power struggle to revenge. Okay, all this talk about teleology and such is pure sophistry. And trauma definitely does exist. And people cannot break free from the past. Surely you realize that. We cannot go back to the past in a time machine. As long as the past exists as the past, we live within context from the past. If one were to treat the past as something that does not exist, that would be the same as negating the entire life one had led. Are you suggesting I choose such an irresponsible life?
Deepa, do you wish to read? Madam Deepa?
Yes, sir. I would like to read. If you want to continue, you can
No,
continue.
no, no. Deepa, I wanted break. Yeah, thank you. Deepa, it
So
is a philosopher.
yeah,
It is true
yeah. I
that
will take the philosopher. Yeah. So we are at where are we? We're in.
we are at philosopher. Is it?
Okay.
It is
Okay.
true that.
I'll take the philosopher. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm just reading from the this line. Uh, is it true that one cannot use a time machine or turn back the hands of time? But what kind of meaning does one attribute to past events? This is a task that is given to you now.
All right. So let's talk about now. Last time you said that people fabricate the emotion of anger, right? And that is the standpoint of teleology. I still cannot accept that statement. For example, how would you explain instances of anger towards society or anger towards government? Would you say that this too are emotions fabricated in order to push one's opinions?
Certainly, there are times when I feel indignation with regard to social problems. But I would like to say that rather than a sudden burst of emotion, it is indignation based on logic. There is a difference between personal anger, personal grudge, and indignation with regard to society's contradictions and injustices. Righteous indignation. Personal anger soon cools. Righteous indignations, on the other hand, last for a long time. Anger, as an expression of personal grudge, is nothing but a tool for making others submit to you.
You say that personal grudges and righteous indignation are different.
They're completely different because righteous indignation goes beyond one's own interests.
Then I will ask about personal grudges. Surely, even you get angry sometimes. For instance, if someone hurls abuse at you for no particular reason, don't you?
No, I do not.
Come on, be honest.
If someone were to abuse me to my face, I would think about the person's hidden goal, even if you are not directly abusive. But I'm sorry, when you feel genuinely angry due to another person's words or behavior, please consider that the person is challenging you to a power struggle.
Power struggle.
For instance, a child will tease an adult with various pranks and misbehaviors. In many cases, this is done with the goal of getting attention and will cease just before the adult gets genuinely angry. However, if the child does not stop before the adult gets genuinely angry, then his goal is actually to get in a fight.
Why would he want to get in a fight?
Okay? He wants to win. He wants to prove himself. I'm not able to hear you, Viren.
Yeah, yeah, you are, your voice is breaking. Now you are audible. Please read again.
My voice is breaking, Mansi. I'm not able to hear anyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now it is okay. You can read now.
Okay. Let's say you and I, a friend, have been discussing the current political situation. Before long, it turns into a heated argument, and neither of you is willing to accept any differences of opinion until finally it reaches the point where he starts engaging in personal attacks that you are stupid. And it is because of people like you that this country doesn't change. That sort of thing.
But if someone said that to me, I wouldn't be able to put up with it.
In that case, what is the other person's goal? Is it only he wants to discuss politics? No, it isn't. It's that he finds you unbearable and he wants to criticize and provoke you and make you submit through a power struggle. If you get angry at this point, the moment he has been anticipating will arrive and the relationship will suddenly turn into a power struggle. No matter what the provocation, you must not get taken in.
No, there is no need to run away from it. If someone wants to start a fight, it's fine to accept it because it's the other guy who is at fault. Anyway, you can bash in his nose in the stupid fool with words that is.
Now, let's say you take control of the quarrel and then the other man who was seeking to defeat you withdraws in a sportsmanlike manner. The thing is, the power struggle doesn't end there. Having lost the dispute, he rushes on to the next stage.
The next stage,
Yes, it is the revenge stage. Though he has withdrawn for the time being, he will be scheming some revenge in another place and another form and will reappear with an act of retaliation.
like what? For instance,
The child, oppressed by his parents, will turn to delinquency. He will stop going to school. He will cut his wrist to engage in other acts of self harm. In Freudian etiology, this is regarded as a simple cause and effect. The parents raised the child in this way, and that is why the child grew up to be like this. It is just like pointing out that a plant was in water, so it is withered. It is an interpretation that is certainly easy to understand. But Adlerian teleology does not turn a blind eye to the goal that the child is hiding. That is to say, the goal of revenge on the parents. If he becomes a delinquent, stops going to school, cuts his wrist, or things like that, the parents will be upset. They'll panic and worry themselves sick over him. It is the knowledge that this will happen that the child engages in problem behavior so that the current goal, revenge on the parents, can be realized not because he is motivated by past causes, home environment.
he engages in problem behavior in order to upset parents.
That's right. There are probably a lot of people who feel mystified by seeing a child who cuts his wrist and they think, why would he do such a thing? But try to think how the people around the child, the parents, for instance, feel as a result of the behavior of wrist cutting. If you do, the goal behind the behavior should come into view of its own accord.
The goal being revenge.
Yes, and once the interpersonal relationship reaches the revenge stage, it is almost impossible for every party to find a solution. To prevent this from happening, when one is challenged to a power struggle, one must never allow oneself to be taken in. Okay, I would like to stop here. Would anyone take over? Suman
So
or Dinesh?
for the youth also, if anyone wants to take over, otherwise I can continue.
Yes. Yeah, I'll take over Deepaji's. Anybody else is there?
Yes, I am
Yeah,
there if.
Oh, hi, Suman. You want
Hello.
so Anjali and Suman, you both can read, like philosopher and youth.
Yeah. Which one do you
okay.
want?
Either one, Suman. No, it's okay. I didn't see your name, so I just offered.
Okay. Yeah. I'll take philosopher then.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Admitting fault is not defeat. All right. Then what should you do when you are subjected to personal attacks right to your face? Do you just grin and bear it?
No, the idea that you are bearing it is proof that you are still stuck in the power struggle. When you are challenged to a fight and you sense that it is a power struggle, step down from the conflict as soon as possible. Do not answer his action with a reaction. That is the only thing we can do. Yes, go on, please.
Anjali, you're reading now? I don't know. Something is
Some
wrong.
network problem may be there.
Yeah, maybe she's not. She's reading, but she's not heard. Anjali, you're not audible, I guess.
Is it okay now? Better?
Yeah. Now
Yeah,
it's better now.
Okay. But is it really that easy to not respond to provocation? In the first place, how would you say I should control my anger?
when you control your anger, you are bearing it, right? Instead, let's learn a way to settle things without using the emotion of anger. Because, after all, anger is a tool, a means for achieving a goal.
That's a tough one.
The first thing that I want you to understand here is the fact that anger is a form of communication, and that communication is nevertheless possible without using anger. We can convey our thoughts and intentions and be accepted without any need for anger. If you learn to understand this experientially, the anger emotion will stop appearing all on its own.
But what if they come to you when mistaken accusations or making insulting comments? I shouldn't get angry even then.
You don't seem to understand yet. It is not that you must not get angry, but that there is no need to rely on the tool of anger. Irascible people do not have short tempers. It is only that they do not know that there are effective communication tools other than anger. That is why people end up saying things like, I just snapped, or he flew into a rage. We end up relying on anger to communicate.
Effective communication tools other than anger?
We have language. We can communicate through language. Believe in the power of language and the language of logic.
Certainly. If I did not believe in that, we wouldn't be having this dialogue.
One more thing about power struggles. In every instance, no matter how much you might think you are right, try not to criticize the other party on that basis. This is an interpersonal relationship trap that many people fall into.
Why is that?
The moment one is convinced that I am right in an interpersonal relationship, one has already stepped into a power struggle.
Just because you think you are right? No way. That's just blowing things all out of proportion.
I am right. That is to say, the other party is wrong. At that point, the focus of the discussion shifts from the rightness of the assertions to the state of the interpersonal relationship. In other words, the conviction that I am right leads to the assumption that this person is wrong. And finally, it becomes a contest, and you are thinking, I have to win. It is a power struggle, true and true.
Hmm.
In the first place, the rightness of one's assertions has nothing to do with winning or losing. If you think you are right, regardless of what other people's opinions might be, the matter should be closed then and there. However, many people will rush into a power struggle and try to make others submit to them. And that is why they think of admitting a mistake as admitting defeat.
Yes, there definitely is that aspect.
Because of one's mindset of not wanting to lose, one is unable to admit one's mistake. The result being that one ends up choosing the wrong path, admitting mistakes, conveying words of apology, and stepping down from our struggles. None of these things is defeat. The pursuit of superiority is not something that is carried out through competition with the other people.
So when you are hung up on winning and losing, you lose the ability to make the right choices.
Yes, it clouds your judgment, and all you can see is imminent victory or defeat. Then you turn down the wrong path. It is only when we take away the lenses of competition and winning and losing that we can begin to correct and change ourselves.
Overcoming the tasks that face you in life. Okay, but there's still a problem. It's the statement. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems. I can see that the feeling of inferiority is an interpersonal relationship worry and that it has certain effects on us. And I accept as logical the idea that life is not a competition. I cannot see other people as comrades, and somewhere inside me, I think of them as enemies. This is clearly the case. But the thing I find puzzling is why does Adler place so much importance on interpersonal relationships? Why does he go so far as to say all of them?
The issue of interpersonal relationships is so important that no matter how broadly it is addressed, it never seems to suffice. Last time I told you what you are lacking is the courage to be happy. You remember that, right?
I couldn't forget if I tried.
So, why do you see other people as enemies and why can't you think of them as your comrades? It is because you have lost your courage and you are running away from your life tasks.
My life tasks?
Right, this is a crucial point. In Adlerian psychology, clear objectives are laid out for human behavior and psychology.
What sort of objectives?
First, there are two objectives for behavior to be self reliant and to live in harmony with society. Then, the two objectives for the psychology that supports these behaviors are the consciousness that I have the ability and the consciousness that people are my comrades.
Just a moment. I'm writing this down. There are the following two objectives for behavior: to be self reliant and to live in harmony with society. And there are the following two objectives for the psychology that supports these behaviors: the consciousness that I have the ability and the consciousness that people are my comrades. Okay, I can see that it is a crucial subject. To be self reliant as an individual while living in harmony with people and society. It seems to tie in with everything we have been discussing.
And these objectives can be achieved by facing what Adler calls life tasks.
What are life tasks?
Let's think of the word life as tracing back to childhood. During childhood, we are protected by our parents and can live without needing to work. But eventually, the time comes when one has to be self reliant. One cannot be dependent on one's parents forever, and one has to be self reliant mentally. Of course, and self reliant is a social sense as well, and one has to engage in some form of work which is not limited to the narrow definition of working at a company. Furthermore, in the process of growing up, one begins to have all kinds of friend relationships. Of course, one may form a love relationship with someone that may even lead to marriage. If it does, One will start a marital relationship, and if one has children, a parent-children relationship will begin. Adler made three categories of the interpersonal relationships that arise out of these processes. He referred to them as tasks of work, tasks of friendship, and tasks of love, and all together as life tasks.
Are these tasks the obligations one has a member of a society? In other words, things like labor and payment of taxes?
No, please think of this solely in terms of interpersonal relationships. That is, the distance and depth in one's interpersonal relationships. Adler sometimes used the expression free social ties to emphasize the point.
The distance and depth in one's interpersonal relationships.
The interpersonal relationships that a single individual has no choice but to confront when attempting to live as a social being. These are the life tasks. They are indeed tasks in the sense that one has no choice but to confront them.
Would you be more specific?
First, let's look at the tasks of work. Regardless of the kind of work, there is no work that can be completed all by oneself. For instance, I am usually here in my study writing a manuscript. Writing is completely autonomous work that I cannot have someone else do for me. But then there is the presence of the editor and many others, without whose assistance the work would not be realized. From the people who handle book design and printing to the distribution and bookstore staff. Work that can be completed without the cooperation of other people is in principle unfeasible.
Broadly speaking, I suppose so.
However, considered from the viewpoint of distance and depth, interpersonal relationships of work may be said to have the lowest hurdles. Interpersonal relationships of work have the easy to understand common objective of obtaining good results. So people can cooperate even if they don't always get along. And to some extent, they have no choice but to cooperate. And as long as a relationship is formed solely on the basis of work, it will go back to being a relationship with an outsider when working hours are over or one changes jobs.
Yes, so true.
And the ones who get tripped up in the interpersonal relationships at this stage are the people referred to as needs. A young person not in education, employment, or training, or shut ins, a person confined indoors.
Huh? Wait a minute. Are you saying that they don't try to work simply because they want to avoid the interpersonal relationships that are associated with work? Not that they don't want to work or that they are refusing to do manual labor?
Putting aside the question of whether or not they are conscious of it themselves, interpersonal relationships are at the core. For example, a man sends out resumes to find work and gets interviews, only to be rejected by one company after another. It hurts his pride. He starts to wonder what the purpose in working is if he has to go through such things, or he makes a big mistake at work. The company is going to lose a huge sum of money because of him. Feeling utterly hopeless, as if he is plunged into darkness, he can't bear the thought of coming in to work the following day. None of these are examples of the work itself becoming disagreeable. What is disagreeable is being criticized or rebuked by others through the work, getting labeled as having no ability or being incompetent or unsuited to the work, and hurting the dignity of one's irreplaceable self. In other words, Everything is an interpersonal relationship issue.
Red string and rigid claims. Well, I'll save my objections for later. Next, what about the task of friendship?
This is a friend relationship in a broader sense, away from work, as there is none of the compulsion of the workplace. It is a relationship that is difficult to initiate or deepen.
Ah, you have got that right. If there's a space, like one's school or workplace, one can still build a relationship. But then it would be a superficial relationship that is limited to that space. To even attempt to initiate a personal friend relationship or find a friend in a place outside the school or workplace would be extremely difficult.
Do you have anyone whom you would call a close friend?
I have a friend, but I'm not sure I would call him a close friend.
It used to be the same for me. When I was in high school, I didn't even try to make friends and spent my days studying Greek and German, quietly absorbed in reading philosophy books. My mother was worried about me and went to consult my homeroom teacher. And my teacher told her, there is no need to worry. He is a person who does not need friends. Those words were very encouraging to my mother and to me as well.
A person who doesn't need friends. So in high school, you didn't have a single friend.
I did have one friend. He said, there is nothing really worth learning at a university. And in the end, he actually didn't enter university. He went into seclusion up in the mountains for several years. And these days, I hear he is working in journalism in Southeast Asia. And I haven't seen him in decades, but I have the feeling that if we got together again, we would be able to hang out just as we did back then. A lot of people think that the more friends you have, the better. But I am not so sure about that. There is no value at all in the number of friends or acquaintances you have. And this is a subject that connects with the task of love. But what we should be thinking about is the distance and depth of the relationship.
Will it be possible for me to make close friends?
Of course, it will. If you change, those around you will change too. They will have no choice but to change. Adlerian psychology is a psychology for changing oneself, not a psychology for changing others. Instead of waiting for others to change or waiting for the situations to change, you take the first step forward yourself.
Hmm.
The fact is that you came like this to visit me in my room, and in you, I found a young friend.
I am your friend?
Yes, because you are. The dialogue going on here is not counseling, and we do not have a work relationship. To me, you are an irreplaceable friend. Don't you think so?
I am your irreplaceable friend? No, I won't think any I won't think anything about that right now. Let's just keep going. What about the last one, the task of love?
Think of it as divided into two stages. One, what are known as love relationships, and two, relationships with family, in particular, parent child relationships. We have discussed work and friendships, but of the three tasks, most likely it is the task of love that is the most difficult. When a friend relationship has turned into love, speech, and conduct that were permitted between friends may no longer be permitted the moment they became lovers. Specifically, that would mean not permitting socializing with friends of the opposite sex. And in some cases, just speaking on the telephone to someone of the opposite sex is enough to arouse jealousy. The distance is that close and the relationship that deep.
Yes, I suppose it can't be helped.
But anger does not accept restricting one's partner. If the person seems to be happy, one can frankly celebrate that condition. That is love. Relationship in which people restrict each other eventually fall apart.
Wait, that's an argument that can only lead to affirming infidelity. Because if one's partner were happily having an affair, you are saying that one should celebrate even that.
No, I am not affirming someone having an affair. Think about it this way: the kind of relationship that feels somehow oppressive and strained when the two people are together cannot be called love, even if there is passion. When one can think, whenever I am with this person, I can behave very freely. One can really feel love. One can be in a calm and quite natural state without having feelings of inferiority or being beset with the need to flaunt one's superiority. That is what real love is like. Restriction, on the other hand, is a manifestation of the mindset of attempting to control one's partner, and also an idea founded on a sense of distrust. Being in the same space with someone who distrusts you is not a natural situation that one can put up with it, is it? As Adler says, if two people want to live together on good terms, they must treat each other as equal personalities.
Okay,
However, in love relationship and marital relationships, there is the option of separating. So, even a husband and wife who have been together for many years can separate if continuing the relationship becomes distressful. In a parent child relationship, however, in principle, this cannot be done. If romantic love is a relationship connected by red string, then the relationship between parents and children is bound in rigid chains, and a pair of small scissors is all you have. This is the difficulty of the parent child relationship.
so what can one do?
What I can say at this stage is you must not run away. No matter how distressful the relationship, you must not avoid or put off dealing with it. Even if in the end you are going to cut it with the scissors, first you have to face it. The worst thing to do is to just stand still with the situation as it is. It is fundamentally impossible for a person to live life completely alone, and it is only in social contexts that the person becomes an individual. That is why, in Adlerian psychology, self reliance as an individual and cooperation within society are put forth as overarching objectives. Then, how one can achieve these objectives? On this point, Adler speaks of surmounting the three tasks of work: friendship and love, and the tasks of interpersonal relationships that a living person has no choice but to confront.
The youth was
The
still struggling to grasp their true meaning. Let's end here, no? Stop here.
Yes,
Mansi?
Mansi, we have to do next also or stop here?
I think let's go finish this like day two today, night two today, because we will be taking a break from tomorrow for at least for next 2 days or maybe this week entirely. So is it okay if we go a little extra today and finish this off? So it
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be in
no
sync.
problem for me. Others can tell.
Yeah,
I
okay, I
think there are
can.
2, 3 more topics. I'll just check how much is it. Give
Yeah.
me a minute. This one topic and then okay. If it is too much, then yeah, it is just 2 topics. We'll
Yeah,
finish it
two
off.
topics more. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. We'll finish it off.
Anybody else wants to read? Then we'll continue.
I think everyone is loving to listen to you both. You're going good. Yeah, go on, go on.
Don't fall for the life lie. Ah, it's getting confusing again. You said that I see other people as enemies and can't think of them as comrades because I'm running away from my life task. What was that supposed to mean anyway?
Suppose, for instance, that there is a certain Mr. A whom you don't like because he has some flaws that are hard to forgive.
Haha, if we are looking for people I don't like, there's no shortage of candidates.
But it isn't that you dislike Mr. A because you can't forgive his flaws. You had the goal of taking a dislike to Mr. A beforehand and then started looking for the flaws to satisfy that goal
That's ridiculous. Why would I do that?
so that you could avoid an interpersonal relationship with Mr. A.
No way. That's completely out of the question. It's obvious that the order of things is backward. He did something I didn't like, that's why. If he hadn't, I would have no reason for taking a dislike to him.
No, you are wrong. It is easy to see if you think back on the example of separating from a person whom one has been in a love relationship with. In relationships between lovers or married couples, there are times when, after a certain point, one becomes exasperated with everything one's partner says or does. For instance, she doesn't care for the way he eats. His solemnly appearance at home, his solemnly appearance at home fills her with revulsion, and even his snoring sets her off, even though until a few months ago none of it had ever bothered her before.
Yes, that sounds familiar.
The person feels this way because at some stage she has resolved to herself, I want to end this relationship. And she has been looking around for the material with which to end it. The other person has not changed at all. It is her own goal that has changed. Look, people are extremely selfish creatures who are capable of finding any number of flaws and shortcomings in others whenever the mood strikes them. A man of perfect character could come along, and one would have no difficulty in digging up some reason to dislike him. That is exactly why the world can become a perilous place at any time, and it is always possible to see everyone as one's enemies.
So, I am making up flaws in other people just so that I can avoid my life task and furthermore, so I can avoid interpersonal relationships. And I am running away by thinking of other people as my enemies.
That's right. Adler called the state of coming up with all manner of pretexts in order to avoid the life tasks, the life lie.
Okay.
Yes, it is a severe term. One shifts one's responsibility for the situation. One is currently into someone else. One is running away from one's life tasks by saying that everything is the fault of other people or the fault of one's environment. It is exactly the same as with the story I mentioned earlier about the female student with the fear of blushing. One lies to oneself and one lies to the people around one too. When you really think about it, it is a pretty severe term.
But how can you conclude that I am lying? You don't know anything about what kind of people I have around me or what kind of life I led, do you?
True, I don't know anything about your past, not about your parents or your elder brother either. I know only one thing,
What's that?
the fact that you and no one else are the one who decided your lifestyle.
Uh,
If your lifestyle were determined by other people or your environment, it would certainly be possible to shift responsibility. But We choose our lifestyles ourselves. It is clear where the responsibility lies.
So you are out to condemn me, but you are calling people liars and cowards and saying that everyone is my responsibility.
You must not use the power of anger to look away. This is a very important point. Adler never discusses the life tasks or life lies in terms of good and evil. It is not morals or good and evil that we should be discussing, but the issue of courage.
Courage again.
Yes, even if you are avoiding your life tasks and clinging to your life lies, it is not because you are steeped in evil. It is not an issue to be condemned from a moralistic standpoint. It is only an issue of courage.
From the psychology of position to the psychology of practice. So, in the end, what you're talking about is courage. That reminds me, last time you said that Adlerian psychology is a psychology of courage.
I will add to that by saying that Adlerian psychology is not a psychology of possession, but a psychology of use.
So, it's that statement. It's not what one is born with, but what use one makes of that equipment.
That's right. Thank you for remembering it. Freudian etiology is a psychology of possession, and eventually it arrives at determinism. Adlerian psychology, on the other hand, is a psychology of use, and it is you who decides it.
Adlerian psychology is a psychology of courage, and at the same time, it is a psychology of use.
Humans are not so fragile as to simply be at the mercy of etiological cause and effect traumas. From the standpoint of teleology, we choose our lives and our lifestyles ourselves. We have the power to do that.
But honestly, I do not have the confidence to overcome my inferiority complex. And you might say that that's a life lie, but I probably won't ever be able to break free from the inferiority complex.
Why don't you think so?
Maybe what you are saying is right. Actually, I'm sure it is. And courage really is what I'm lacking. I can accept the life lie as well. I'm scared of interacting with people. I don't want to get hurt in interpersonal relationships and I want to put off my life task. That's why I have all these excuses ready. Yes, it's exactly as you say. But isn't what you are talking about a kind of spiritualism? All you are really saying is you have lost your courage, you have got to plunge up your courage. It's no different from the silly instructor who thinks he is giving you advice when he comes up and slaps you on the shoulder and says, cheer up. Even though the reason I'm not doing well is because I can't just cheer up.
So, what you are saying is that you would like me to suggest some specific steps.
Yes, please, I am a human being. I'm not a machine. I have been told that I'm all out of courage, but I can't just get a refill of courage as if I were filling up my tank with fuel.
All right, but we have gone quite late again tonight, so let's continue this next time.
You aren't running away from it, right?
Of course not. Next time we will probably discuss freedom.
Not courage?
Yes, it will be a discussion of freedom, which is essential when talking about courage. Please give me some thought to the matter of what freedom is.
What freedom is? Fine. I'm looking forward to next time.
Yeah, it's over.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the time, everyone. And we
Another
can
night ended.
stop it. Yeah. So I'm just asking before, like, because some people might leave. Uh, is it okay if we take a break for the next 2 3 days? And now read again, like from Monday or something, because I won't be personally available because of Ganesh Chaturthi over here in my family functions and all that. Others You let
Yes,
me
it's
know.
perfectly fine for me also.
Even I
Or
won't be
you,
available.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, that's what I thought that maybe some others might be not available too. So otherwise, if someone wants to take the lead, they can but I think that many people might miss it out, right? Because of this
Mansi,
festive
we can
season.
start afresh from Monday, na? New topic, new
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was
actually.
thinking.
Yeah.
Instead of just
Yes,
taking it
yes.
on Friday, we'll directly start from Monday because now I think he'll be talking about, he said, right? He'll be talking about freedom, and maybe now it will be more about a solution to all this. Like now he just made us understand it. Now he'll talk about what to do about it, how to go about it. So yeah. So yeah, let's take a break. I'll also drop that. I forgot to drop it earlier. That last page they have na day one and two. After every night they have that introspective questions. So I'll drop that also so that you can just reflect upon it in the meanwhile while we are taking a break from reading. So yeah, that's it. I wanted to just clear that out. Okay, we are open for discussion. It was a deep read again today. Quite direct. The way it is written. So yeah, please feel free to share your perspectives and points. Go on. Yes, who would like to go
Yeah,
first?
they are waiting for someone to take the initiative.
Yeah.
In
Let's
Am
that
I
keep it
case,
waiting?
shall
very
I go?
short.
Okay, Viren.
Since we are already out of time. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
What I am recalling is the point that it was told anger should be managed at the initial stage itself. Otherwise, it get turns into retaliation, and that is very where we can't do anything.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Personally, I could relate with the power struggle. So that's how ego games happen, right? Where everyone thinks I'm right, and that's how it goes on in some relationships. So I could relate with that very much, that part which we read about power struggle. So yeah, and I loved how he suggested that the first thing is you have to drop in the first instance, where you don't have to get on with the I am right kind of an attitude. That really helps. Otherwise, it gets worst. So yeah, I could relate with that.
I related with that when people have difference of opinion, it's better to move away when you can't convince the other side, the other person with whom you're having this relationship or conflict. You have to change your environment, the people around you, to have a different alignment. I am right, that ego, when it comes in, it's better to move away from there. And that is a very important thing for me, like the power struggle we're talking about, or the sibling thing. One is being treated in one way, the other one is treated another way. So you can't put everyone on the same platform. Everyone has different abilities. When the parents can't recognize that, or the society doesn't see that, for me it is like, yeah, we have to move away, uh, and find where we can be nurtured, where we are valued. So the writer may not be exactly saying this, but that is my take on the situation which the youth is going through. Thank you.
Yeah, very true. I could actually not really very well understand the last two topics about life lies, and so I am actually looking forward to the explanation from the author to the book, like to the philosopher basically. So yeah, uh, psychology of courage and life lies, that part, no? But yeah, and life task, like he just named it differently. But yeah, that is interesting, and I loved that in interpersonal, everything is interpersonal relationships actually, because we are social beings and we cannot live without interaction. Nothing can be operated without interacting, and so that's how is related it with. That was also interesting for me. So yeah, relationship does play a very crucial role in life, and how we actually respond and react to situations, that makes a whole lot of difference. So yeah, I think the book is all about that. Anything else? Anyone just want to highlight any point, any takeaway, anything? Because I think we are late. Some of them have already left. So whoever is there, would you like to share something? Yes, any one point also is okay. Anything anyone would like to share or add
Yeah,
or highlight?
Mansi, I was on mute. I have one more thing to share, one experience. All of us might have gone through this. Sometimes we advise or we hear people saying, when someone is venting out, someone is having an outburst, or someone is talking, say quiet. Don't have that outburst that went out. You can't be angry. Calm yourself. You're not a good listener. You're only talking. You're not paying attention to other people. So now that I have removed myself from that, what that person is having outburst, I'm putting myself in that person's shoes. I realize that the society or the family, they are the bad listeners. The person having that outburst, the vent out, or talking about the injustice in the society, or whatever is happening around them, they want to be heard. They want to be listened to. That is not the time for the society or the family to say, quiet, I am elder to you. You're only venting out, and I'm asking you to calm down. You can't go on shouting like this. No, that person has to vent out, let out the stream completely. That outlet should be given. That paying attention to the intonation, to the anger voice is very important, along with the words which are coming with those angry intonation, with that loud voice. That has to be paid heed to. And after that person has vented out, there should be a calm for 5 6 minutes for the people who are around them. Just because that angry person is saying is repulsive and not acceptable to the other family members or to the society doesn't mean that they are wrong and they should keep quiet. It is important that they are heard. Then the conflict can be resolved more amicably and more democratically. That is something I've recently observed. So I thought I should share that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mansi,
true.
shall
Yeah.
I share my view?
Yeah, yeah, please, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Deepa, for sharing your view and others. See, what I'm learning, we should respect, like, I was revising my fundamentals of the presuppositions of NLP. Like, every person is right. And even when we express our views, if we express independently with respect, by respecting all persons who are present there, I see that it makes a lot of difference. And another thing which I'm learning, whatever the other person says, even by taking our name, if we disassociate ourselves with that and another person, we become, if we become proactive rather than reactive. Like yesterday, I participated in a managing committee meeting where I had did lot of homework, and I feel I was very successful in positive participation. Thank you. And other aspect of life also, one another book is in our group is read at some other time. Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. So I'm finding that theory also, if we apply simultaneously, what others are doing, let them do what others are doing. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I want, yeah, that book is on our reading list too. Yes, very true. I do agree. And thank you for relating it with the NLP. It actually, yeah, that's how. So I feel sometimes it's just different philosophies, different words, but they all boil down to the same concept altogether, into teaching us. Yeah, very true. Thank you for sharing that, sir.
Yeah.
Anything else anyone wants to add, or we can even close for today then? Otherwise, anyone who's not spoken, you want to add something?
Maybe I think this thing, the power of words is quite powerful, mainly, and the tonality also matters. I think that these two things, if taken care, I think a lot of fights will not be there.
Yes, yes, very true. Yes, and energy also, because
Energy also, yeah.
yeah, even if sometimes when people don't speak up, their thoughts create a certain energy in the room or among people. So that also makes a lot of difference. Yeah. Obviously, the book is not talking about that yet, but yeah, just remembered, so added. So yeah, very well. So yeah. Okay, then I think we are all done sharing. Suman or Rajesh, you want to share something, or are we good to go?
Yeah, yeah, it's okay, fine.
Okay, you don't want to add anything now?
Yeah, yeah. Further, we'll
Okay,
be
no problem.
sharing on Monday.
No problem. Yeah, let's reflect on now that we have read through the conversation and both philosopher's point of view as well as the youth. Let us just reflect upon our personal lives through the learnings, and I will just drop the questions that are there, reflective questions that are there at the end of the book. So now that we are taking a break, let's just reflect and deep dive into them. If possible, journaling will help. I would highly recommend everyone to please take some time out. Maybe we can, if you don't have any celebrations or anything going on, maybe this can be a time where you just sit with yourself and reflect upon them, and journal. If not, any other time that suits you. And let's do that, and let's do our homework and come back on Monday then, uh, for the new start. Okay then. Thank you everyone. See you all.
Happy, happy Ganesh Chaturthi.
You all on Monday. Yeah, happy Ganesh Chaturthi. See you all on Monday now, next week directly. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Have a great festival and have a great weekend, and uh, have good time together. Thank you. Bye bye.